Hi, I'm Don Stanek, and today we're going to talk about lead maturity rate, which might not sound very exciting on the surface, but for me, it's very exciting because the rate at which my leads are going to mature in my database are going to indicate to me my future business. And I want to get paid today. Yeah, absolutely. Do I want to get paid next month, next year, 5 years, 10 years down the road? Yes, yes, and yes. So people ask, and my clients ask me, well, at what point do I just not follow up? Or when do I just call it a day and say this person's not going to ever want to talk to me again? It's really simple in my mind, and that is keep following up with people until they tell you to specifically stop. Now, if they tell you to stop, congratulations, because you're probably following up at a rate that's probably a little bit too frequent. But the truth of the matter is, I would rather have you be on that side of the fence than on the vast majority of the other side of the fence where people are just waiting for a potential contact to re-engage them and contact them and say, oh, yeah, gosh, you know what? Well, I get a lot of referrals. Good for you. So with that on the table, let's lay some basic ground rules because I think there probably needs to be some kind of rules. How frequently should you follow up with someone is going to be 100% determined on one factor and one factor alone. Do you understand why they're going to transact in the future? And do you understand their core motivation? So their core motivation is going to drive their time frame, and their time frame is going to drive the sequence and the amount of follow-up that you're going to be doing with this person. For example, you have a conversation with someone, they say, well, you know, we're probably going to sell our house when we retire, turn 65, and move to Sarasota, Florida to be with the grandkids. Okay, that's fantastic. I now have a core motivation, and I have an estimated date when they turn 65. And so my next thing that I have to settle is, what is that time frame between now and 65? And they tell me, well, we're 62, and so we're probably not going to do anything for another 5 years. Now, do I abandon this person because I'm not going to get paid next month? Of course not. What I want to do is put together in my mind a resolute plan that says, I'm going to get a paycheck here in about 5 years and 45 days. And so I'm going to start backfitting my activities into that follow-up plan. Now, many of us have CRMs that give you this follow-up plan, the strategic follow-up plan. You wake up in the morning, oh, here's who I need to call today based on their core transaction motivation. Well, that's nice. If, in fact, you have the discipline to do that, congratulations. I hope that you do. I hope you're working toward that direction. Many of us get burned out on follow-up because we're just kind of broadcasting and broadcasting and broadcasting. We never get any feedback. So what I want you to do is focus on core motivation and estimated transaction date in the future. That date in the future is going to give you a number of months or a number of years. This is going to give you your frequency of follow-up so you can get this person to the place of their stated goal. I want to move to Sarasota, Florida when I'm 65. Now, I have to be prepared in my mind to follow up with this person. Now, what am I going to be doing for this person between now and 5 years down the road? Well, bare minimum, I think I should probably send them a CMA on their property every year, number one, and put them in all my other follow-up cycle things that I might want to do. Now, with people that are long-term, I'm pushing people into the long-term bucket. Maybe if I touch them 3 or 4 times a year, that might be more than enough. Now, if I get an estimated transaction date on somebody that's inside of 2 years, this frequency has to be every single month. You have to reach out to this person monthly, because here's what happens. In most cases, when you identify a core motivation around an estimated transaction date, it's been my experience that 85% of the time, that time frame actually compresses. And the reason it compresses in most cases is because people are focused on something. And once you start focusing on something, you start, your head starts turning, you start fitting in pieces. You're like, well, yeah, I guess, you know, we should think about selling one day. And then all of a sudden you see a property in the preferred neighborhood. And you're like, oh, okay, well, now that's kind of become real, and it's no longer a theory, but now we're moving into like logistical action item steps to get from point A to point B. So with any project management, moving is just another project. Moving from place to place is project management. And so once you start understanding the action items, and you naturally start fitting them into a time frame. And what happens at that point is the time frame compresses, because when it comes to transacting, when it comes to selling a property and reacquiring a property, for goodness sakes, it doesn't take 5 years, it doesn't take 3 years, it doesn't take 2 years. Many of us have been in all cash transaction that closed in 72 hours. In fact, I have several times. And so it's not so much a matter of the time, it's the sequence of events that needs to occur between point A and point B. Got it? Got it. So if they're not going to transact for years, you still need to touch them at least quarterly, okay? You're doing this because you need to stay at their top of mind awareness. You're an expert in valuations in their location, and you're helping them, but you're not overwhelming them and pushing them and pushing them. People are going to compress their own time frame based on your conversations and maybe some of the recommendations that you might make. So for my Sarasota, Florida example, I might tell this couple and say, well, you can definitely wait till you're 65. And they might have some very specific financial reasons for that, right? However, there might be a variety of other things that I could bring up while I'm following up with them for the next 5 years. Number one, the grandkids ain't getting any younger. And so there's a big stretch of time in a young child's life between the age of 10 and 15. Grandma and grandpa get to Florida when the kid's 15. Guess what? They ain't hanging out with grandma and grandpa. So there might be a motivation that would cause that time frame to compress. Now, there might be other economic reasons. I would make sure that they are in touch with a good certified financial planner and a tax strategist so that they can understand what are the real implications to them transacting before the age of 65. Is it really going to cost them as much money as they think? Is there going to be a penalty? Is there not a penalty? Or are they operating in a set of self-exploration, facts that maybe aren't really true? A lot of people get an idea in their mind that I'm going to do this thing, and here's the reasons I'm going to do it. But have they really spoken with an expert to get a very clear picture on what the impact would be if, in fact, they would move early? So these are long-term follow-up people. Now, what else am I doing when I'm interacting with this couple for 5 years? I'm asking for referrals because I'm providing a CMA to people, to them specifically. I want to possibly penetrate that neighborhood. I want to understand who their sphere of influence is. Who else do they know in the neighborhood that might be selling their property? Who else do they know who's 60, planning for 65 in their social network, in their social group, that might be thinking about moving or downsizing or buying a second property or a condo? And so it's about lead generation. Everybody that's in my database is either going to transact with me today or they're going to transact with me at some point in the future. My follow-up frequency is going to be based on their timeline and their core motivation. But in the meantime, what am I doing? I'm adding leads always through referral. Okay, next, we're going to get a little zen, right? We're going to get a little zen, which means I want you to act without expectation. Acting without expectation. I want you to go through the process of following up with all of your contacts around their time frame and their core motivation. If you don't have a core motivation, then what you're doing is you're just staying engaged. I'm in the business. I'm professional. I'm interesting. I know a bunch of stuff about real estate, and I'm proving it because I'm sending you an email, sending you a text, engaging you on social media. I am getting face-to-face with you in events, having coffee, all these different things. What do I mean by act without expectation? So most of us, myself included, are sales professionals who would prefer a little more immediate gratification. Could I get a check here? A little more immediate gratification. And that is, hey, order a cocktail, get a cocktail. Order a cocktail, get a cocktail. Boom, boom, boom. We like it fast, fast, fast. Guess what? Managing and maturing a database is not interesting or sexy or fast. It's like planting seeds. Oh, I didn't know I was going to be a corn farmer. You're a corn farmer. And in fact, you might plant seeds today that don't mature for 10 years. And so there's a great deal of psychological complexity in letting go. I just want you to let go of the outcome. Let go of the outcome. Here's a couple of recommendations on how you achieve that. Number one, you have to be sincerely interested in people. Now, this by itself can be very complicated because many of us are not naturally like that. Some are, and we're naturally inquisitive, but you have to be naturally interested in what's going on with people around you, which means you need to care about other people. You really need to care about them. Now, this doesn't mean I need you to cry their tears, but what I do need you to understand is that what's happening in your mind and in your life is not as important in this follow-up process as what's happening in their mind and in their life. Most of the conversations that you're going to have around that initial follow-up or that reoccurring follow-up, they can't be centered on what you're doing, right? And so I coach a lot of mortgage agents, a lot of loan officers, and all they want to talk about is, man, there's some interest rates, man. I got a great loan program. I got this and I got that and I. But at the end of the day, so what? They don't care. Like every mortgage company's got it. Hey, I got interest rates. It's always there. Or with my realtors that I coach, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, I'm so excited about this new listing. I want to tell you about my new listing. It's just really exciting. It's my listing. Should I tell them not to send out just listed, just sold marketing activity? Of course not. I absolutely want them to do that. It helps people realize that you're in the market and you're active. Now, here's the thing. Getting that new listing might be the most exciting thing that's happened to you all year. And when you tell some people about it and they don't respond, you could be subject to some emotional caving. Don't cave emotionally. You want to try to get rid of these high, euphoric, this high, and this low. Try to get rid of the high highs and the low lows in your follow-up methodologies. I want it to kind of be boring. I know that if you do the work over and over and over again, that you are going to get the results that you're going to get. Now, those results are going to be predicated on, are you an interesting person? Are you good at your engagement? Are you really reaching out correctly? But if people don't respond to you, do you get upset? Well, of course you do sometimes because you're tired and you're like, man, I've been at this for a week and knowing, I sent out 10 bazillion emails and 3 people marked me as spam. Well, of course, because you're not in a relationship with them. Being in a relationship at this point in the transaction process and this prospecting process means you have to take 100% of the responsibility for the relationship, and they have no responsibility, none whatsoever, no responsibility for the relationship. Now, we're human beings, and so we're putting out 100% and we get nothing in return. And so here comes rejection. Oh, I feel rejection. This isn't working. Let go of the feelings. Your feelings are not relevant. Let go of your feelings because all of this angst that's happening on your side of the equation, like they don't even know you. Oh, yeah, I know he's a realtor. Oh, he's a good guy. They're not having any emotional response to your not getting responded to. Please just let go of the emotions. Follow-up is the most administrative thing that you're ever going to have to do. It's boring, but you have to do it because if you're not doing it, you're just not going to hit your financial goals. Okay, the last tip that I want to give you on this topic is very important, is all of your follow-up methodologies, and there should be a lot of them because I want you to mix it up. Not everybody's going to relate to you in the same way and in the same medium. So you need to mix up your follow-up methodologies, but here's the goal. The goal is no matter what you're doing, it's always driving toward either a conversation or face-to-face. You're trying to drive everything toward the appointment. All of your follow-up is geared to creating value and setting the appointment. Now, blending your methodologies is going to help you not go crazy out of boredom. And because people relate to you and they relate to media in different ways, it's going to help you kind of find that sweet spot. If you've ever had a conversation with anybody in your database, I want you to settle one question. Of course, I want you to determine if they've got a core motivation and an estimated time frame for moving. So if they say no, what are you talking about? We just moved. We moved last Tuesday. We're not moving again. Great, not a problem. So what I want you to do is ask this next question. It's really important. Jim, Sally, Bill. Bill, I'd like to keep following up with you. I'd like to stay in touch with you. And so is there a way that, you prefer that to happen? So some people are just really, really clear. They just don't want email. They don't respond to email. They don't care. They don't even check their email. Some people live and breathe on Facebook and live and breathe and die. And some people it's Instagram or X or whatever it is. Please understand, it doesn't matter if you're out there broadcasting a message if they can't receive the message, because they're 0% engaged in the platform that you're reaching out. Now, is this kind of a pain in the rear end to try? Oh my gosh, now I got to determine how they receive information before I got 50. No, you don't understand. I just paid a bunch of money for KV Core. I put everyone on a drip campaign. I'm done. Woo! You're not done. And so what you have to do is take the time and the effort. How does this person receive information? How are they going to receive information? Remember, everything you're doing is driving toward a conversation. So that could be face-to-face or it could be over the phone. Before that phone call happens and before that or that face-to-face happens, before you're standing in their kitchen talking about listing their property, how are they going to receive the information so that they know that you're relevant, they know that you're interesting, you're in the business, you know a lot about their property, you know a lot about their neighborhood. How do they receive information? For goodness sakes, you need to start categorizing your leads in this way so that you can be most effective. I would rather you have highly effective follow-up with a database of 1,500 than to carpet email bomb like 100,000 people a week. Now, both methods might work to some degree, but I'd rather see you be more of a sniper. Remember, what's happening in their life and in their mind is everything. It's not about what's happening in your mind and in your, oh my gosh, what do you mean I have to follow up with that person? I got to text them? How do I text 50 people at a time? Oh my God. Hey, guess what? There's technologies around every different follow-up methodology. It takes a little bit of research. Remember, what's happening in their mind and their life is paramount. Understand how they receive information. If you don't solidify that first, you're just working in a really, really inefficient manner. Okay, I hope you got a little something out of this segment, and maybe there's a tip or a trick. But most importantly, what I want you to take away with is this one simple thing. If you're struggling with your follow-up, if you're struggling with the whole concept of acting without expectation, if you're struggling with anything with regards to follow-up, for goodness sakes, just go grab 15 minutes on my calendar. I would love to talk to you about your business, your follow-up, and I look forward to helping you in any way that I can.